The Royal Canadian Air Farce is an iconic comedy troupe whose origins date back to 1970 Montreal, where they were first known as the Jest Society. In 1973, they became the Royal Canadian Air Farce, and for their CBC radio show, the troupe broadcasted live for the first few years from the Curtain Club in Richmond Hill. Apart from their obvious talents of providing endless hours of laughter to Canadians and those watching and listening around the world, Air Farce has been able to tap into the comedic psyche which makes Canadians tick. According to Don Ferguson, Air Farce provides a mirror, slightly cracked, for the nation.
We're here at the Curtain Club with Don Ferguson, one of the founding members of the Royal Canadian Air Farce. When and how did the Royal Canadian Air Farce form?
We actually started on CBC Radio, I think in 1971 under a different name. We were called the Jest Society, and we used to make inserts, comedy sketch inserts for a 2-hour program that was called The Entertainers. And this producer decided they didn't want us as part of the show. So we said, well, you got to give us something because we've predicated our year on doing this. So he said, well, I'll tell you what, you've always wanted to do a live show in front of a live audience. I work at the Curtain Club part-time and recorded a couple of shows right in front of the audience that sat on the other side of this glass here. The response immediately was terrific. So we had a contract to do one show. It turned into doing 3, and they had us come back next year. And this was our home base for several years. We recorded every early Air Farce radio show at the Curtain Club in Richmond Hill.
Yeah, I always remember you used to finish off saying that.
And we would used to get letters from people after a while, actually, across Canada. People would say, where is the Curtain Club? We'd like to come to town. And I think everybody had in mind that the Curtain Club was something out of a 1930s movie musical with little round tables with lamps on them and sophisticated people wearing tuxedos and long gowns. And that's just the men. They had no idea that it was a Quonset hut in the middle of a field in Richmond Hill.
There wasn't very much around this theater.
There was nothing around here. I think everybody was surprised that the show worked so well. And I think the key to it was, of course, it was funny because or at least we thought it was funny. But the most important thing was the audience thought it was funny. And because we were recording it here, one of the things that we insisted upon, since it was going to be our one kick at the can, is that the audience be recorded too, so you could actually hear people laughing. And I think that was the key difference, and that was probably the most important factor in CBC deciding to pick up the show.
Well, I mean, I was here, sort of backstage helping with the show, and the phone used to be ringing like crazy. So you guys were very popular. What influence did the local Richmond Hill community have on those early broadcasts?
Our contact with the Richmond Hill community was mostly through people such as yourself, through the volunteers that worked in the theater, because I mean, you may think the Curtain Club has been understaffed over the years, but CBC had its own problems even back then. I'm sure if we had to come and do something now, exactly the same conditions would apply, which is that we had to perform in whatever set was up for whatever show was running. So sometimes it was a French farce, one time it would be Billy Budd, but it was a great community feeling because you really realized this place was kind of typical kind of shoestring theater. It was run by volunteers from top to bottom, and it was the passion and the care of the individuals involved that actually made the place function. So I think we fed off that.
The Royal Canadian Air Farce is over 40 years old.
Yep.
Multi-award winning acclaimed Canadian comedy institution. When you first started, what were your ambitions?
Our ambition was very simple. It was to have a chance to do another show. We never thought beyond the show that we're doing now. We put all our energy into this week's show. And that was a great advantage of doing the radio shows here at the Curtain Club in Richmond Hill, is that we had real live breathing people laughing at the material, and there are no charity chuckles. People, if it's funny, you laugh. You don't think about it and go, oh, that's funny, I'll laugh now. You laugh spontaneously,
yes,
or you don't. And so our material got its first airing to the wider radio public across Canada by using the Curtain Club audience as kind of a microcosm of what that audience would want to hear.